Hey guys, how's it going? This is Khan, TDK, Mr. So Real, and in today's agent info video, we are going to be talking about the FAMAS yet again. And in this video, we're going to be addressing the recoil pattern, a little bit about bullet spread, and controlling your weapon. These are all issues that many FAMAS users encounter in day-to-day usage in the field. So today we're going to be talking about them. We're going to be talking about the attachments that we discussed in the previous video, and we're going to be talking about how to maximize your damage and make sure that you have a good playstyle that works well with the FAMAS, or does it complement your playstyle as a FAMAS user. With all of that being said, please remember to check out the previous FAMAS video that talked about attachments so you know where we're going and why we used certain attachments. And with that said, let's get on into it. Let's go. Okay, so let's get started talking about the recoil and management of this weapon. The other thing that we do need to address with the FAMAS is its bullet spread. Its accuracy is kind of suspect when you think about it, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Let's talk about the stability of the weapon and the bullet grouping. So here we have the FAMAS. This is going to be my little electric green meanie. This thing has nothing on it, just the skin. And I do have the other FAMAS from the previous video. If you haven't seen that video about the attachments, please take a look at that. It should help you out a lot to learn what you should have on the weapon. So we have the little green meanie in our hand. We're going to use the same distance that we use for the M4 right around here, and this is pretty close. Now I would say that opposed to the M4, the FAMAS kind of benefits from closer combat, and we'll talk more about that in playstyle. Now without any of the talents active that you select, not aiming down sight from about here, we'll just let this thing, oh god, that's where it goes. That is crazy. Hold on, I gotta see that again. That was that was kind of ridiculous. All right, I'm gonna aim a little bit higher because I don't want to take up too much real estate. All right, that was a little bit better, but it was still pretty bad. So the FAMAS, if you haven't known for a long time, this thing has some crazy recoil patterns. Let's put it down here in the usual spot. Same as for the M4, and let it ride. So as we can see, it goes up and to the left. The bullet grouping at the beginning is pretty okay, but then it just starts going crazy. Now let's try this again and see, does it go anywhere else? I'm not going to touch the sticks. I'm just going to let it rock. All right, here we go. Now that time it went up and to the right, which is questionable. Having this horizontal recoil be unpredictable, I think, is an issue. Let's try this one more time and see which way it goes this time. And this time it went kind of straight up. So from 3 different tests, it went in 3 different directions, and shooting from the hip, it just went all over the place. This weapon needs a lot of loving when you talk about the mods that are on it. Now the mods that I recommended were one for users who are using uncomplicated and didn't want to put stability or accuracy and wanted to let this kind of bullet pattern rock. And then we talked about the attachments to use if you didn't want to use uncomplicated and you wanted a bit more stability. Now let's put our mods back on to this weapon and try this test again. All right, now we're back and we still have our green meanie in hand, and this time we have some actual mods on it, but I took off the magazine mod just because more bullets means it'll just stay in the same place when it hits the top of its recoil pattern. So we're just going to leave it to its base magazine. If you want to add more bullets, then you can test it out for yourself to see how it goes, but it'll just be more of the same, and we're just testing for the recoil pattern right now. So we're going to look at the green meanie, which has no stability mods on it whatsoever, none at all. We do have a slight accuracy bonus for the grip. That should help the grouping be a little bit better, let's hope. And then we also have our blue version, and this version again has no magazine, but it has some stability on it. This has 13% stability for the grip and 13.5 for the sight. And we're going to take a look and see, is it really worth it to go with uncomplicated in terms of control? Now, before we start with that, actually, let's look at the abilities and talk about the talents. Now, the talents, of course, that I would recommend for this, because I'm running a Predator's Mark build, would be Shrapnel, Tech Support, which kill a hostile while the skill is deployed, extends the active skill duration by 10%. Steady Hands, enter any cover to reduce recoil by 25% for 10 seconds. And On the Move, kill a hostile while moving to reduce incoming damage for 30% for 10 seconds. Now I'll go into why On the Move and I believe Tech Support are really good for this particular weapon. This has nothing to do with the build. And actually Steady Hands, we all know, helps to reduce that recoil. I addressed that in the M4 video, so if you haven't seen that, you should check it out. All right, now getting into our green meanie with the mods, no stability mods. This just has some damage buff mods on it. We'll just let this ride. All right. Okay, so it has a kind of curve to it. Starting here has a pretty nice grouping. That's probably from the accuracy, and then it sprays all the way up. Now if we use Steady Hands, we bounce on, get a little bit of recoil reduction, line it up and let it rock. The recoil is a lot more manageable. This is a little bit more in line. We have the grouping that is a lot tighter at the bottom, and also towards the top, about in the middle somewhere, a little bit past the middle, we have a nice little cluster right here. That's pretty good to help keep things in line if you are trying to manage your shot and you start to get off of control about here. Then maybe you can try to put it back on track and get a good chunk of those bullets back together. Now, looking at our little blue bad boy, this thing has the stability mods on it, 13.5 I believe and 13. This is about the same range as the M4. We'll start it from here, and this is with no Steady Hands. Now, as you can see, the recoil is not as bad. It is really going off to the right. I have no idea what this is about, but our cluster of bullets, the grouping here at the bottom is nice, and then somewhere towards maybe before the middle, it starts to kick up similarly to how this one does. But this deviating, I mean, this is deviating straight over to the right, is unacceptable. Really and truly, this is unacceptable, and that's with stability on it. So with the stability, we basically get a little bit less recoil, but the horizontal recoil is not taken into consideration. Now if we go for Steady Hands, we bounce in, jump off, and let's try this again. Maybe get a little closer. It's still running. Let it rock. And now we have this kind of weird looking hook. I don't know, there's like a 7 or something. This is really bad. Having this kind of deviation in the recoil pattern makes this weapon really difficult to use, and even with Steady Hands, we have some issues with this gun. Alright, so looking at the recoil pattern, we have pretty much summed up that it really doesn't seem worth it to lose the uncomplicated talent if you are running Steady Hands. It just really doesn't pay off. You're not gaining that much benefit from stability when you're using the FAMAS. Now again, I know that with Alpha Bridge, a lot of people are not necessarily using the FAMAS as a weapon. They're just using it for the talents, and if you are doing so, then just remember that stability really is not helping this weapon much at all. I just want to see this one more time because this is kind of unbelievable. With Steady Hands, this is the green meanie. This has no stability mods on it. That's almost vertical. Let's try it one more time without steady hands. It's pretty vertical. Now with stability, and it's already taken off the block with steady hands. Let's go here. That was a lot better. Pretty stable and straight up the middle, which is rare, I would say. And then let's try one more time without steady hands. Slightly vertical, but with a little bit of an S to it. So there is a little bit more control in it, but it's really not worth it. You could do a lot more in terms of damage without the stability mods. And I would definitely say, as a recommendation, that probably using steady hands is the best way to do it, and then forego the stability mods and maybe just go for your basic damage to try to get the most out of it. Now, when we talk very quickly about how to use this weapon, I would definitely use this weapon differently from an M4. Going from here, if we look at it, and this is the green meanie, which is the weapon that I would recommend without the recoil reduction and stability. We can use steady hands and kind of pop out and use it in a burst manner. This is probably one of the better ways to do it. Make sure that you get back onto cover because you will lose that stability, and you can keep your grouping kind of close, but do keep an eye out on steady hands, because if you don't, you may pop out and get a bunch of this, and that is something to keep in mind. But yeah, I would definitely recommend that for play styles. You do want to pop and shoot, hit cover, peek out, get a small little burst out, get back into cover, and then rinse, repeat. The other way that I would also use this weapon is I would use it as a run and gun. I would definitely rush enemies and rush players in the dark zone with it and kind of spray them down from up close. The weapon doesn't seem to have much forgiveness when it comes to range, so you do want to be up close, you do want to be moving around, and you do want to be in those enemies' faces, which is why when we talk about our abilities and talents, having on the move to get a reduction in incoming damage for 30 seconds, plus having something like tech support. When you kill a hostile, your skill duration is even longer increased. It's extended by 10%. That could really help if you run in, do pulse, kill something, and that pulse extends for a little bit longer. This could be useful in PvP and in PvE, and is a pretty good thing to use when you use with any of your loadouts. Tech support, I think, is a little bit underrated, but a lot of people talk about it, but it is something that you may want to consider. Using tech support, using steady hands, and using on the move. These are three really good perks that work well for the FAMAS. But if you're not using the FAMAS as a weapon, then you can switch these out, of course. Alright guys, that is it for this Understanding Recoil and Controlling the Weapon FAMAS edition. I hope that this video helped you guys out and it helps you to understand a little bit more about the recoil of the weapon and how it is very different from other weapons. If you'd like to see more videos like this regarding other weapons, maybe there's a weapon that you like or that you are interested in, but maybe you don't have, or maybe you're not really sure if yours is acting right, maybe you want some better mods, or maybe you want to look at the recoil a bit better, just leave me a comment in the comment section. I'd be happy to take a look, and if I can find the weapon or if I have the weapon, I'll make a video for you. So that is pretty much it. I hope that this gave you a little bit of insight. Remember to hit that like button if it did teach you something, or if you did learn something, as it does help out the channel, and it does help videos like this stay in rotation and help other agents find this information so that they can learn something just like you possibly did. That is pretty much about it. I am Khan, TDK, Mr. So Real. Until the next video, I'm out. Peace.